Hi, Steve-O. Big love, me beautiful friend. Thumbs up, Mickey Mouse. Bless you. I know this may not be everyone's cup of tea tonight, but I'm going to put my camera on. Hello. I'm just going to sit down in between my dogs. They just take over my settee. But yeah, I'm just going to talk tonight about, because like through my, when I went through like my domestic violence and stuff, after like going through it all and like coming out, I always like thought to myself, why, why did it happen, and then you start looking into like other stuff, like I'm always into like watching real life documentaries, and I know they're sad, and I do cry when I watch some of them because I'm very emotional. I'm an emotional person. But yeah, tonight, I want to talk about a beautiful woman. Her name was Audrey. And I love like watching documentaries in diving as well. So this is how I got to watch Audrey's documentary. I don't know whether any of you have watched it, but yeah, I just think it's a bit sad how she died. And to me, I think it was a fatal accident, but there's other stories out there that are saying that it wasn't. I just don't know. Let me know what you think after I've sort of spoke about it. But I have wrote some stuff down because I do forget dates and stuff, so I want to get her dates right of her birthday and everything. Don't want to be disrespectful towards the beautiful woman that I'm going to talk about tonight. But yeah, so Audrey was her name. She was a beautiful woman, and she was born on the 11th of August 1974. Her family was snorkeling and scuba diving enthusiasts. They loved it, that's all they ever done. They lived for it. And they had her swimming from a baby, and she even won a medal at 2 years old, a 2.5 meters swimming at the age of 2, to win a medal, that's amazing, So, but in Audrey's teens, when she was about 14, she caught thyroid fever, and she had to wear like this back brace, and obviously she had to wear it all the time. And the only time that she couldn't wear it was in the water. So that's when she started to sort of like spend a lot of her time in the water than out, sort of thing. So that's how she started to love like being in the sea, with her family being scuba divers anyway, But yeah, so I'm a bit nervous again. But yeah, so she sort of spent a lot of time in the water with her grandfather, and he was a spear diver champion. This is where she starts to feel free, obviously in the water without the back brace, because she had to wear it for quite a few years. But after her healing and the back brace comes off, her family moved to Mexico, where she starts to study marine biology. And in 1996, Audrey's interest in underwater sports led her to meeting her husband, Pippin. Pippin was born in Cuba on January the 18th, 1962. So he was a little bit older than her. And Pippin grew up as a child. He also had like difficulties growing up as well. So he had like bowed legs. So he had to have his legs in like braces. And he had quite bad eyesight as well, so he like wore quite thick glasses. as well. And he was also bullied as a child. But this made him very depressed and low. And like Audrey growing up, he could swim before he could walk. So he spent quite a lot of time in the water as well as a child. And he became a spear fisherman for his family. So Pippin started freediving in his early 20s and could hold his breath freediving deeper than anyone who challenged him. So can you just like imagine like holding, like, you know, when I've gone swimming like with my son and I've held, like we've gone under and we hold our breath, you know, there's no way that I could even do it for like 3.5 minutes, you know. And these free divers, they go under the water at such depth, and like to hold your breath without no tank like giving you oxygen, you know, and you're going at different pressures as well. That is just like, you know, it's got to be so difficult for them as well. It's just like amazing, you know, for them to even do it. But yeah, this is when Pippin became well known and very noticed. He was a risk taker, pushing the limits of freediving. So with freediving, he, like, when I think with the freediving, I think there's no, with freediving, no limits. You don't have to go by any rules. But in IDO, they have rules, obviously, for safety and reasons. And I think, you know, freediving is more, with no limits, is more risky, you know. But yeah. So whilst Audrey was studying her marine biology, she blogged her exam piece on how the human body adapted underwater. Her exam story was all about Pippin, the world champion freediver. She became so fascinated on him, she would sit and draw herself as a mermaid, with Pippin like freediving and like reaching down and like pulling her up, sort of thing, from the water. You know, she sort of like, she had that schoolgirl crush on him. And they both had like similar backgrounds as well in their upbringings, you know. So during Audrey's study in marine biology, she saw a poster in Mexico with Pippin on it, and holding the world record. So Audrey, being Audrey, she hops on a bus as it wasn't too far, and suddenly, before she knew it, she was in his world. And by the next day, assisting him on his training dives, the next day, one of the divers that was in the team died. He actually died on the training day. He just died under the water. But with Audrey, like, she dealt with it with so, like, with helping, trying to like save him and bringing him up. She was so calm, you know. Pippin sort of like, that's when he became fascinated in her, and by the second day they both were together. You know, it just happened so quick for them. So, and then before you know it, in no time, they both are now filming. They're going around for TV shows, deals, movies around the world. You know, Audrey, she loved the ocean. She loved to dive with the dolphins, whales, sharks. And in the documentary, when they talk about Audrey, they talk about her as a mermaid. You know, nothing like swam away from her. You know, like you see the dolphins and the whales. They come to her. You know, and they don't even just. She touches them. You know, it's just amazing, beautiful woman. You know, they said that she was the world's mermaid. Yeah, so after a few years of Audrey and Pippin being together, they were married. And in their late 30s, Pippin was suffering from metabolic stress, which leads to blackouts. So because he's been free diving for such a long time, all the pressure that he'd been putting his body and organs through, he was just like suffering from more and more blackouts. You know, it was just putting so much stress on his organs. Sorry. Normally, you know, I watch stuff like this and I see them in videos, but I thought, you know, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do like a live. I'm going to do it like differently because I'm quite different like that. I like to be different. But yeah, you know, so Pippin knows now, because his body is so much under stress and pressure, you know, he can't carry on for much longer, because, you know, every dive he was taking was a risk. Yeah, so, you know, so what he decided to do was started to train his wife. So Audrey, being an extra in a set, now becomes worldwide. No, this is wrong. Sorry, I'm on the wrong bit. How? You can tell it's live because I haven't got anything planned. Yeah. So from Audrey being on a set, is now becoming worldwide talent in No Limits freediving. She's becoming a star. So Audrey's first world record is No Limits freediving was in France, in the French Nationals, on May the 29th, 1997. So it was an 80 meters like deep and 263 feet. So 80 meters deep. I mean, that is just like, that's a lot of depth, isn't it, for her to be free diving, you know? But you see, Audrey wasn't the only woman star on the horizon. On May the 6th, 1998, a beautiful woman, Tanya from Australia, who always enjoyed life to the extreme, pushing herself hard in sports. Because of Pippin, she started freediving herself in No Limits and held her breath for 3 meters, 113 meters deep. And she handled this with such ease and became a star overnight. And because of that, this beautiful lady in Australia, you know, freediving suddenly became like sexy. You know, it was like she was a beautiful woman, she was sexy, you know, she was doing a dangerous sport, you know, and this also helped her and her husband to sell their sports on the magazine as well. So because this other lady, Tanya from Australia, she now becomes like a bit of competition for Pippin, you know, because he's now training his wife, and he sees this other lady from Australia, you know, come along and like take over Audrey's 80 feet depth. You know, she's done 113 depth. You know, Pippin is like, you know, he's not having none of it. You know, he's now in competition mode. He now wants his wife to beat this record, you know. And so this is when he started his own campaign with his wife Audrey. But because of this, Audrey starts to become under pressure. But her crew on the documentary, you know, they always said, you know, with Audrey, she wouldn't admit it, but they knew it and they could see it in her. You know, he was pushing her. You know, and I suppose when you're being pushed to something that you enjoy doing, you know, sometimes when someone's pushing you, you tend to sort of like, you tend to not enjoy it as much, you know, because you're not doing it yourself, you know. So in January 2000, at the age of 38, Pippin attempted his deepest dive ever. And that was 163 meters he attempted. But as he ascended from the water, he suffered a major blackout for more than over a minute, which validated the dive. This was it for Pippin. He couldn't risk any more strain or stress on his body, knowing that next time he may not be so lucky. So in May 2000, Pippin arranged for his Audrey to make her first world record free diving attempt of 125. So she's done a free diving no limits of 80. So that's a no limit, but now he's putting her into like 125 meters in a world's record. And that is like 411 feet deep. But you see what Pippin done for like the publicity, he actually hired a helicopter like with like some rope hanging down with Audrey at the bottom to actually show people the actual depth that she would be actually going down, because obviously when you're going down into the ocean you can't see, can you, unless there's somebody down there like with like a camera recording it. But you know, to look up on the documentary, to look up to see how the depth, you know, it's amazing how they actually go down and hold their breath for that long, you know. But yeah, so he done that stunt to put some more publicity on for Audrey. But yeah, so and on the day, you know, she's looking super fit, you know, she's in good spirits. Audrey's glowing, you know, even her crew were going, you know, is she pregnant? You know, she's glowing, you know, she's looking really good. You know, and she held her breath and she reached the depth of 125 meters, but on surface, she suffered a blackout. And under the rules of IDO, I always get my words mixed up sometimes. But yeah, she would have been disqualified. But Pippin's own IAFD declared her the new woman world record holder. So now Audrey, who was the student, and Pippin, who was the teacher, this is now starting to reverse. What Pippin had built up in a lifetime, Audrey had picked up in just a few years. So if Audrey was gaining in on her husband, Tanya, the Australian woman, was aiming to blow past his world record attempt of 166 meters. So he tried that attempt, didn't he? So now Tanya, the Australian woman, she's going for it. She's attempting it, you know. And Tanya's deepest in no limits was only 135 meters that she's only ever done. So 100, I think she went down to 170. So that's a big steep from 135. So Tanya, having her husband beside her when it came to her safety, obviously, you know, her husband, he looked at it that she was his wife first and an athlete second. He always made sure, like checking all the equipment, that she was coming back. Always made sure the IVs lines were there, the adrenaline was there, the resuscitation drugs were there, because, you know, this is a dangerous sport, really, you know. And he was the only one who would check the airbag. So when they go down, they have an airbag attached to their backs, and they have to like pull this valve to let this airbag bring them straight back up. But obviously you have to fill that with air. So her husband would be the only one, Tanya's husband would be the only one to make sure that this airbag was filled. So he's making sure his wife's coming back, you know. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm a bit nervous again. Yeah, and he would check that over and over because, you know, he's making sure that she's coming back to the top. And with Tanya's team, obviously buddy teams, Tanya and her husband would have 16 safety divers that would go down with her, 16. So she's going down to 170 feet. So she's got 3 buddy divers at the top, 3 buddy divers there, 3 buddy divers there, 3 buddy divers there. And then I think she had 3 under her. So obviously if they could see that she was in distress, the ones underneath would come up, and all of them had an airbag attached to them. So if Tanya was ever in distress or danger, they would just reach her within seconds and attach that airbag to her, and she would just automatically go back up. But yeah, because with divers, it's different to free diving, because obviously when you hold one single breath and you go under, you know, divers have to compress their air. So, you know, what takes a free diver 3.5 minutes to go down and back up can take their lowest safety diver 3.5 hours to come back up, because of their tanks, their oxygen tanks and stuff. You know, because it does, when you get to a certain depth, you know, with the tanks, it can make them quite drunk, can't it? I know, you know, if you know a bit about diving. But yeah, so where am I? Because I've said about that bit. Yeah, so you know, so on the day of Tanya's world's record dive, because I know this bit, so I have to look at it. You know, she was ready. She got herself all ready. She got in the water. She went to like compact all the air. She held her breath, so she compacted all the air into her lungs. But what she done, she overpacked. So she blacked out. So before she went in, she blacked out, and she sort of like looked at the judge, and the judge looked at her, and there was no rule in blacking out before you went under. There was only the rule of if you come back up and you black out, then you're disqualified. So she sort of like looked at the judge, and the judge looked at her, and she was like, you know, can I go? And he sort of gave her the thumbs up, and down she went. You know, her safety divers are already at the bottom. They're already in place, ready for her. So as she's gone down, you know, she's explaining the pain, the excruciating pain, as she gets to a certain depth as well, because this is the deepest dive she's ever done, free diving. So as she hits the bottom, like her and her husband beforehand always said, you know, through training in the weeks up to the world record, always stick to what we've done, you know, stick to everything. But obviously blacking out before, you know, the plan's just gone, isn't it? So as she's got to the bottom, there's 3 important things that she has to do. You know, there's the first one is she has to pull something for the lift bag to be ready. So when she's ready to go up, that's ready to take her up. 2, she has to unclip something here. And 3, she has to pull a valve. But what she does the first one, She does the second one, but the third one, she blows a kiss to the ocean. So in her head now, she's done all three, but she hasn't. So she's done the first, which is the lift bag, the most important thing that's going to get her out of there. She's done the second, but the third one's not done. So as it's come to the 3 minutes, she's gone to do the lift bag to bring her up, but nothing's happening because she hasn't done that important third thing. So her divers are like seeing what's going on because the bag's not going as the time as it should be. So they're starting to approach her, ready to, like, you know, put the safety, the spare, like the bag that they've got on attached to her. But then she clicks, she remembers, you know, she's done that to the sea and not that. And within that, she does the third final thing and she's straight up to the top. I mean, the amount of bubbles that you can, you know, the divers actually said they couldn't even see her through the bubbles. They didn't even know if she was on there. You know, it just takes her straight up. But yeah, she passed. She was now the woman's world. You know, she broke it. She broke Pippin's attempt. She done it, you know. But the next day, Pippin was not happy in this, like his world record attempt being broken. He was not happy at all, you know. And this is it now. This is it. He is now putting that pressure onto his beautiful wife. You know, you've got to do it. You know, you've got to beat this. You've got to start to do this. You know, and this is where it happens. This is where Audrey goes. I got very. If you like documentaries like about real life, and you know, you should watch the documentary because I got really heartbroken in it. It really upset me. But yeah, where am I? Sorry, because I've gone through loads now. Yeah, so he's put a lot of pressure under with Audrey, and you know, on the day of the actual record-breaking day for Audrey, you know, there's a big massive storm and Audrey just isn't herself. You can see, when you watch the documentary, you can see it. You know, she looks sad. She just doesn't look right. And her crew actually said in the documentary, you know, she had like a bruise under here. Some of them thought that, you know, there was more going on, you know, but you don't know, do you? And yeah, she was just gazing out before she went to do the world record. She's like she knew, you know, there was something just not right with her, and it's so sad. I'm getting emotional, you see, I'm getting upset talking about it. Yeah, so eventually the storm cleared and they got ready to set off for the dive. Audrey was withdrawn. You know, something wasn't right. And she just was cut off, you know, she was cut off from them all, you know. Sorry. But yeah, I'm going to put that down. I'm just going to go from what I know now. So yeah, on the day of the dive, Audrey's team, they were missing two members already. One, obviously, the safety diver had died when Audrey first ever got with Pippin. The second one, there was three, sorry. The second one actually died in a cave, was it a cave dive accident? And the third one wasn't there. because he actually spoke to Audrey earlier that year, and he said, "Is there any plans going on? Do you need me?" And she said, "No, we haven't got any plans." So he actually made other plans, and he was somewhere else. But so on the day of Audrey's dive for the world record, she only had 3 safety divers with her. 3. I mean, this is like when you've got Tanya from Australia who had 16, to 3. So you've got one diver at the bottom with you. You've got one in the middle and one around the top. There's like a big, massive gap. But, it was just like 3 divers. Wow, the safety and in it just wasn't planned at all. And so on the day of her going down, they done like the checks of everything, all the equipment. And somebody in the documentary actually said that they approached Pippin and said to him, is the air put into the bag? And Pippin was quite like abrupt, he was like, "Yes, it's done, I've done it, go away," sort of thing. And he just went, okay, he went off and started carrying on with other stuff. And so Audrey, she gets into the ocean, she takes her, compacts her air in, she goes down, she gets to the bottom, she does all the routine, everything's okay. She's done it, she's done this with a breeze. She's doing it, she's going to beat this world record, she is. And then it comes to her doing the airbag, and there's no air in it. You can see it on the documentary. The bag's there's nothing. It's just doing this, So the diver at the bottom, he gets one of his tanks, and he actually fills it with, compresses the air into the bag from one of his tanks that helps him under the water, and he then sends her up. But because there's not enough air into the bag, she's going up at such a slow level. She gets to a certain depth and it just gets slower and slower. So there's no air. It's like he's tried to do something. He's tried to save her, he's tried to get her up, sort of thing. And my words are coming out wrong. I'm sorry, everybody, but it's my first time at doing this. It's something I'm taking it's not something I normally do, but it's I enjoy doing it. So if it makes sense, I don't know. Am I making sense, everybody? Let's have a look. Sorry, I don't really want to be nosy. But yes, Donna, big love and respect, Marie. Steve-O, my beautiful friend, big love. Oh, bless Donna. I'm so glad you've popped in, Donna. Bless you. I know I'm not making sense, but that's just me on a normal day. But yeah, so as you can imagine, this poor diver at the bottom has tried his hardest to put the air into her airbag and get her even to the second diver, that's in the middle or past the middle. But now the diver at the bottom is now having to sort of come back up. And if you can imagine, what takes a free diver 3.5 minutes takes a safety diver 3.5 hours to get back up to the top because of their oxygen and stuff. So, reaching as the diver starts to reach back up, he then sees the airbag with just no air in it at all. And he sees Audrey just floating. She's just like that in the ocean, away from the airbag. So, you know, she's tried, but she's now floating in the ocean, bless her. But up the top, you know, on the boat, up the top, you know, everybody's thinking, you know, she should be up by now. You know, what's happened? You know, she should be, you know, this airbag should be bringing her back. She should have been here, you know, minutes ago. But yeah, and then all of a sudden, you know, you see he's panicking, like he knows just something, you know, in his, you can see, I just know, you have to watch the documentary on it, but as the second diver gets to the airbag again, he then uses I think a bit more air out of his tank, and he brings that empty airbag to the top. This is when the empty airbag comes up now, so they see that there's no Audrey on there. So this is when Pippin goes, like, he goes crazy, you know, her husband. He starts to put like a diving suit on within, like they said, within a minute. He was diving suit on. He took a risk with his own life going down. He dived down with one tank and an airbag within like minutes. He was there. He was like a bomb, they said. He was just straight down. He put Audrey on his back, and then he brought that airbag up, which brought them both up to surface. Being on surface, you know, he tried to give his wife mouth to mouth, like straight away before they got her onto the boat. And when they got her onto the boat, one of the crew members said, you know, you're the doctor. You know, you're the doctor here today. You know, he wasn't even a doctor. He was a dentist. So the person that they'd had as the doctor, you know, nothing was planned. It was just, you know, it was rushed. Everything was rushed. Nothing was planned. You know, the safety of it has to come into it. And, you know, they got onto the speedboat. They were trying like compressions on her heart. But every time they were compressing, there was like this pink sort of foamy stuff coming out. They just couldn't even like get air into her. But she had a pulse. She still had a pulse. But yeah, as they got to shore, you know, there was nobody even there waiting to get her to the hospital. They had to take her on a beach bed, and it took them half an hour to get her to the hospital. And with minutes of her being in hospital, you know, she had passed away. You know, she had passed away, sadly. And, you know, I just think it's so sad that the carelessness and of the safetyness of it all, you know, his wife, I mean, you know, more, they're just, you know, what do you think? You know, what do you guys think? You know, what do you think? Because his own, after Audrey's death, a year went on, and obviously the next day, the police, they interviewed the Pippin and everybody, and they put it down as an accidental drowning. But Pippin's like bestest friend, really, his best friend who had been with him all throughout his world records, he had to come away from Pippin because he actually felt that more should have been investigated in it, because he actually said what he felt Pippin had done that day. He done it. He put nowhere in there, because like the audience was all his wife. He felt that, you know, he done it. So the dive that he actually done, bringing Audrey back up, they reckon that he was trying to do it as a rescue so he could get his fame back in some way. That was his own closest friend that actually wrote about him on that. But You know, what do you think? You know, I'm sorry if I'm rambling on a bit, but I like my real life, you know, documentaries, and you know, some are really sad, but some are sad and have good endings. Some are sad and have sad endings, you know. But yeah, I just be nice, you know. Let me know what you think on live. Let me know what you think in the comments below. You know, I think it was a tragic accident that really went wrong, and it shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't have happened. And I think she would have held that world record, you know, the women's world record, and she would have done it. And she was such a beautiful woman. And yeah, so that's about Audrey, you know. But yeah, hi everybody. I'm not ignoring anyone. Sorry, it's my first live in doing something like that, but I don't know, I might do some more on it because I quite like talking about real life, you know. Yes, extreme sports are very dangerous, it's true, and that is a dangerous sport to do as well. So her safety should have come first. And you know, he, you know, unlike Tanya's husband, you know, she was his wife first, and an athlete second. And I think, you know, having someone that you trust, and you know, you just so sad. But let me know what you think. Yeah, you know, bless you, RJ. Big love, bro. Yes, Donna, I love my documentaries. I really do. Oh, bless you, Norris. I was so anxious. It's like I've done my first video again. But thank you so much. That's a really kind comment, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, you know, I hope. Oh, bless Marie. Big love to Marie. But yeah, I'm just going through the chat quickly before I say peace out. Mickey Mouse, thumbs up to you. Bless you. Just, do you know what? Big love to you all. What do you reckon? Do you think I should do another one? Do you think I should do another one about I tell you the documentary I've watched as well. I don't know if you've watched I think his name is John. I'm not very good with names, but he was the one in the cave. Might do that one next. Just something different, isn't it? It's like real. It's real life. You know, it's sad, and you know, I'd like to do one with a happy ending as well, because, you know. But yeah, let us know. Do you think I should do another one? Bless you, Donna. Thank you for your love and support, honey. Big love to you. Yeah, thanks, RJ. Keep me busy, wouldn't it? Yeah, bless you, Norris. Thank you. Marisi, bless you, darling. That's it. I'm going to do another one. That's it. But yeah, big love to everyone. Peace out. It was my first one, so I was a bit anxious. I didn't have it right. You know, I went by my notes, but then I thought, just do it how I've learned it, really, on the documentary. But yeah, big love. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening, and peace out.